This guy got stuck up in the tree the other day. Insert photo now. He was sitting there meowing, meow, 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 and we were like, yo, where's he meowing from? And then next thing you know, he was up in the tree. How you gonna climb up that far up and not know how to get back down, buddy? Welcome back, you guys. So I've just been taking the last 2.5 weeks off working on cars, just kind of relaxing, catching up, and just doing a few other things with like buttoning up the flip wagon over there, which is ready to go, just covered up. Musical chairs, move the CRX up front here. When that car goes, it just goes instead of moving the cars around. And I moved my wagon over to this side right here. I was working on the wagon, you know, the last 2 days, kind of getting it prepped up for the breast cancer awareness show, which is on Saturday, October 20th. So I don't even know when you guys are going to see this video, but I am trying to get back in the grind, get back in the groove of recording and working on cars. I'm just relaxing. But after the Shikai show, I came across some issues with the car driving home, and one of the issue is there was a ton of smoking inside of the car, and the car power wire that goes to the alternating fuse box was somehow shorted, you know, with the firewall kind of seesawing itself back and forth, which cut the wire and got ultra hot. You can see right there how hot it got, and pretty much shorted out a bunch of things in the car. And when I got like a mile away from home, the car started misfiring. Worst feeling ever. And so yesterday or 2 days ago, I, you know, took the battery out, tore into the power cables and stuff, replaced it all, and, you know, kind of square up the power system again. And I super ultra like multi-layered aluminum on top of the power cable going through the firewall, so that if it ever seesaw itself through again, it's going to be a real thick layer to get through, which I doubt will happen again. But once I did all of that, the car started idling normal. It didn't want to die on its own anymore. The misfire noise is gone, but further inspection of the motor, I decided to do a compression test, and not so good results. So now, in part of the shorting of the alternator wire, I did a compression test, and this cylinder is 210. This is 120, 130 with oil in there. 215, 215. If you guys remember my old engine was, I believe it was 210, 90, 220, 220, and I am pretty much reliving my old engine's nightmare. I did notice a lot of blow-by now coming out of that catch can again, just how it started with the last engine. And it's a bummer because after the breast cancer awareness show tomorrow, I'm supposed to be headed to the Chronicles in SoCal, which is a long drive for me, and this issue comes about, and I really don't know what I'm going to do, if I'm going to take the car down there still or not. But I did kind of come up with a solution, whether I go to Chronicles or not, a solution for this whole fix, so this car could be 100% tip top again. But we'll talk more about that towards the end of this video. Today I want to install my KTUNED fuel rail. Again, huge shout out to Sean at KTUNED for providing this fuel rail with my package of, you know, all the other KTUNED goodies that I purchased, you know, a few weeks ago. I wanted this to replace my current OBX fuel rail, which cracked on me on the first start, which is the weirdest shit ever right there. And vibration vibrated this bolt loose, so that's gone. And every time I pop my hood, this sucker is always like that. So I want to, you know, give this to Chewy. If you guys remember my buddy Chewy Wagon, we're doing a K24 swap soon. I'm going to send this to him, and I'm going to be installing my new KTUNED blue anodized fuel rail because it complements everything else in his engine bay, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and go through the fittings and everything, see what I need, tighten up everything beforehand before we get started on pulling that sucker off that manifold, and then we'll button up this fuel system, turn it back on, make sure everything's working, no leaks, and then we'll kind of talk about the fix for the wagon's motor. Alright guys, so after you know, kind of unpacking this KTUNED fuel rail box and fittings, I have one fitting that has a -6, which is perfect because I am -6 on my feed line. And then we have another plug here, which is a block off, and we have 2 new Allen key bolts to bolt up on the fuel rail, so we don't use those ugly 10mm that are currently on there. So the only thing is, my fuel system is utilizing both a -6 in and then a -6 out of the fuel rail before it goes to the fuel pressure regulator, and I only have one fitting. Now I'm gonna pray this is the same thread pitch so I can take it off of this sucker and bolt that up to the other end of the fuel rail and have it set up pretty much how that one currently is. And the reason why it has a block off, because typically I've seen a lot of like EGs, you know, DCs, EKs, other chassis where they run the feed in on this end of the regulator, and then one goes to fuel rail, and then the bottom side of this regulator goes to your return line. Now EF and DAs, our feed system is over there, and we pretty much just loop around into the fuel rail, then from the fuel rail to the regulator, block off one end, and then return. I don't have any fittings or anything to attach to this fuel pressure regulator to make my feed come from there to the regulator and then run one in and then block off the other side with the other plug, this sucker. So I'm not going to do it that route. I'm just going to keep it, you know, the same style it is currently on the car. Got the fuel rail off, and I noticed that my AN-10 for the catch can is rubbing up on my hood. Beating on it a little too hard. Both of them are. So I don't know if I want to maybe use my spare valve cover or my teal valve cover that was actually sent to me from a subscriber, thank you very much, and put new bungs on it and relocate this pretty much, or just full send it and let it eat itself out. I don't know. But here is the fuel rail, here is the crack ugliness, and I'm gonna go ahead, while this is out of the car, I'm gonna go ahead and clean the injectors while I am doing this, because obviously I think either one of these injectors are faulty, that cylinder, the second one, or something else is wrong with my tune. I don't know. But I know a lot of you guys were asking me how I clean my injectors. Now unfortunately I broke the freaking tip right there, but it still sprays. And if I can remember to put the link up, I'll put the link up, because I just pretty much typed in how to clean your fuel injectors on YouTube, and you know, this is the technique that I'm going to be using. Now you're going to need either the plug or some alligator or gator clips, and you know, pretty much all you do is you make a custom hose that goes to the you know, the head of the injector, like snugged on here, and then you put power and negative on either or, the terminals, doesn't matter which one, but you don't put it to direct power. You pretty much tap it and make it squirt at a time, and if your injectors are dirty, obviously it'll spit all weird, and then once it is cleaned, it's going to have its spray pattern. Now different injectors have different spray patterns, so I don't know how this one's going to be until I run it a few different times, until this starts spraying a consistent pattern, and then we'll know it'll be done. So I'm going to go ahead and find all of my stuff to clean these injectors, and we'll have it all set up right here. Alright guys, so I kind of got my station sort of set up, and I'm just going to tell you guys right now, do not use brake cleaner. Even though it kind of like does somewhat of the same thing, but use carbon choke, see, parts cleaner. Parts cleaner. Anyways, use the carb and choke cleaner and pretty much set it up just like this. You want to get several different vacuum lines and transition it down, unless you guys can find a different way of the same, you know, deal here. So I got this small little like vacuum line from the windshield washer nozzle, and with a little bit of electrical tape around this tube, it's snugged in there with a zip tie, and then this goes into another vacuum which is snugged in there, and then this vacuum goes into a bigger one where this fits into the injector itself right here. And what you do is you want to apply, you know, this nozzle down, not all the way, because, you know, the heavier the pressure, the harder the injectors are going to shoot out. You know what I mean? Excuse my sound effect. And last time I did this by shorting the wires together to pulse the injector. This time around I have a switch, so I can apply, you know, rapidly with my finger to mimic the injectors working. And that's all it pretty much is. So you hook the injector up to that hole, and then you put this plug onto the injector, and you apply probably like maybe 50% of pressure there. But before you do that, you have to get ready to hit this guy at the same time, because if you apply pressure and all that builds up inside of this is gonna like poof, separate because of pressure. So apply that while doing this at the same time. Get this sucker to be stabilized, because this thing was moving all over the place when I was doing the first injector. And yeah, once you get that all squared up, clean your injectors. So I'm gonna put you guys on the laps, show you how I do it, and then we'll reinstall everything in place and figure out another -6 for this guy. Man, these injector top hats were like stupid stuck on the OBX unit, and had to put it on the vice grip and destroy the hat a little bit, or at least the paint on it. And got all my injectors installed on the KTUNED fuel rail. Now before I install this sucker, I have to remove the studs off the manifold, because KTUNED provides its own hardware, and obviously this is going to complement the fuel rail because it's nice and you know, clean, polished, Allen headed, and a lot cleaner than the 12mm nuts that were on here right there. And we are going to be retaining the fuel rail spacer, so that's going to be a little challenge to not drop when we're trying to put the bolt in. Easy peasy though. But so I decided to keep the injector for the low compression cylinder on the same cylinder, because if I move this injector to a different slot, and say if this injector was the culprit, I don't want to mess up another cylinder with this one not firing, if it's not firing accordingly, and mess up another cylinder, then bring me 2 cylinders down. If I decide to take this car to the Chronicles and this cylinder, you know, stays messed up and the other 3 works, I should be able to drive on 3 cylinders or 3.5 cylinder if this one still has compression, opposed to driving the car with 2 bad cylinders and 2 okay cylinders. So I'm gonna leave that be, and let's remove those studs. So earlier I mentioned that I only have 1 fitting right here. I don't remember the orb on this side, but this is definitely a -8 and a -6 for my line. KTUNED only provided 1. Wish they provided 2, but you know, it is what it is. I'm gonna have to figure something out for this side, because obviously I need 1 more for here, but I'm gonna go ahead and just put this one on now. Before you put the fuel rail on, there's a, like, I didn't show you guys, I don't know if you can see that silver piece right there. There's another fitting down here, and you want to double check that Allen key that's holding this plug into place before putting it on, so that way if, you know, if it came loose or whatever the case is, you don't want to lose that while you're driving, because that turbo fire, car's done, and it'll be a nightmare. So I'm gonna go ahead and, like I said, just put this sucker on, put this guy on, figure something out for this, and pretty much just button it up and show you how it looks without all the crap that's in the engine bay. All right, so here's my temporary solution for the other end of the fuel rail. Now I had this piece right here which had a barb for the stock fuel line nut thing that goes on top of this, and this was actually for a skunk tooth fuel rail from Jose's car. So what I did was I cut that barb off. I had this -6 steel weld-on bung in my AN fitting box, so I cleaned the two up, made it the surfaces together, and just welded it shut. So this has an O-ring right there from my universal O-ring kit you can get your auto parts store, and this threads in here just fine. The only thing is it's pretty butt ugly. Well, at least it matches the butt ugly throttle cable bracket. So damn chopper's been out for like a few hours now, and I don't know exactly what is going on. But anyways, got the car turned on and double checked for leaks. Everything seems to be good. No crazy smelling of fuel. This fitting seems to have worked out perfectly fine, but I'm definitely going to order a replacement one just to get rid of this ugliness right here, even though it's not really that ugly. I think it's just the fact that I painted this flat black instead of gloss black like these other fittings, but nonetheless, no leaks, no worries. So I've already got like a bunch of things ready for Chewy. OBX fuel rail. I also have the hybrid racing shifter box that I pulled out of here for the KTUNED unit. That's going into his car, and soon he's gonna be K24 swap too, so expect to see that on the channel like maybe 2019. I don't know, it sounds far, but it's technically just around the corner if you really, you know, don't think about it. I'm in love with the new fuel rail. It really does complement the bay a little bit more because you can see more of the blue on top, opposed to the OBX one, which was silver, and then if you looked around then you can kind of see the blue, but now it's really popping more because it, I mean, literally says KTUNED right up front with the blue across the whole fuel rail on the top. So I'm loving it. Hope you guys are too. So let's talk about the wagon and what kind of solution I came up for the car in terms of making this engine right, or making it run finally correctly, and just making this car run normal again. I've thought long and thought strong about what it is that I want to do, but I'm not 100% set to it just yet because some of the choices I really don't want to do it, but if it has to, it will, because this is my baby, this is my pride and joy. So I'm gonna have to do whatever I have to do to get this car back to 100% drivability wise, because it's very stressful that, you know, two of my engines fail or is failing the same exact way in less than a year. So option number one, I was going to pull off this turbo, put it in this car, and get this car retuned. Whether I go back to the track or not, I either want to raffle it off or sell the car of my asking price, just to get the funds to build a whole bottom end cylinder head, you know, replace everything replaceable that, you know, may have a ton of wear and tear or whatever is really messed up inside of the block or the head itself. So that's like option number one, to get funds to come by quicker to get this car up and going sooner. Option number two, I originally was supposed to sell the wagon to start the all-wheel drive project because the things that I need to buy for that B20 is resting in that car. Now option two was to flip that wagon, save that money, go buy this other car that is potential flip car for me, fix that car, sell that car as well, and use that money in combination of this flip wagon, and use that money to build again another motor for this car and get it right. Option number three would be stop slacking, get the merches out, get some wagon apparels or stickers out, get some mail stickers, slaps, apparels out, the built to drive stuff, get all of those out ASAP instead of waiting for 2019 to come out with all of those stuff. Get those going ASAP, and then use the proceed of that to again rebuild this car. That way I'll have this car still around, sell the flip wagon, and use the funds for that to start the CRX all-wheel drive project. I don't know, I'm just kind of all over the place with it. I'm not set to what I want to do exactly, because I really don't want to sell this car just yet, even though this car is not meant to stay here forever. I really want to go back to the track and test this car to go at least 1099 before I sell the car. So that's one of the reasons why I'm not fully set to exactly selling this car just yet. But let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think, or what options or what other options you guys think I should take or do to get this car to run right and still retain everything else, or if I should just sell this and fund that. And too much stuff to think about. But with that being said, this video is pretty much just, you know, a KTUNED install. If you guys are loving how this looks, KTUNED do offer a whole bunch of different colors, and you know, pick one to match your engine bay. I'm loving it. I hope you guys are too. So KTUNED's website is linked in the description below. Be sure to check it out. But with that being said, I got to clean this car for the show tomorrow. Thank you guys for watching, and see you guys in the next video. Peace.